Welcome to a new episode of the podcast. Vox Agent is made by AI for business executives that work with AI. Today, we're diving into something that might sound a bit like a red flag at first glance. There was a recent Wall Street Journal piece noting that AI's big leaps are slowing. Now, if you're leading a team or a company, your first reaction might be, uh-oh, is this a problem? Are we hitting some kind of wall? But the real question we want to explore today is this. Could this apparent slowdown actually be a strategic advantage for you in the business world?
That's exactly the angle. We've put together a report from Vox Agent, just generated this August 24th, 2025, and its core idea really flips that initial concern on its head. Far from being a setback, this more, let's say, deliberate pace in AI development is actually opening up some significant strategic doors for businesses. So our mission in this deep dive is to cut through the hype, pull out the key insights for tech-savvy executives like you, and help you understand not just what's happening with AI's pace, but more importantly, why it matters and how you can leverage it right now. Okay, let's unpack this then. When we say AI's big leaps are slowing, it doesn't mean innovation has just, stopped completely, right? What exactly are we talking about?
No, not at all. It's more a shift in the frequency and the scale of those really massive paradigm-shifting breakthroughs in core AI stuff. Think specifically about large language models, LLMs, the tech behind things like ChatGPT. We're seeing fewer of those jaw-dropping leaps compared to the crazy pace of the last couple of years. It's not stagnation. It's more like moving from an all-out sprint to a more sustainable, maybe more thoughtful marathon pace.
That makes sense. It felt almost unsustainable for a while there. So if the pace is becoming more measured, what's driving that? Are we hitting technical limits?
We are definitely bumping up against some fundamental realities. First off, yes, technical limitations. The current dominant models, particularly these transformer-based architectures, they're amazing at finding patterns, making statistical connections, predicting the next word. But they often lack, well, true semantic comprehension. They don't really understand meaning in the human sense. And they're not great at causal reasoning, knowing why something happens, not just that it correlates.
Right, the difference between correlation and causation.
Exactly. And that limits how far they can push genuine intelligence. Plus, just the sheer cost, computational power, energy, hardware to build and run these monster models is becoming a huge bottleneck. It's just not sustainable to keep scaling up indefinitely like that. Then there's the whole data dependency and quality issue. These models are only as good as the data they're trained on. Finding and preparing massive amounts of high quality, relevant, unbiased data, that's a massive challenge in itself. So the focus is shifting. It's less about sheer volume and much more about data quality, which you absolutely need for robust, reliable systems. And we also see challenges in generalization and robustness. Models trained on one data set can sometimes surprisingly struggle, when they encounter new, slightly different data out in the wild. They can also be vulnerable to these adversarial attacks, tiny changes that trick the AI. Think about trying to use these in critical systems. You need them to be reliable.
Yeah, you can't have that brittleness in high-stakes situations.
Precisely. And then there are the growing ethical concerns. Issues like bias baked into the data, the potential for spreading misinformation, job displacement. All these risks are prompting a more cautious, responsible approach to innovation. People are pausing to think, which is probably a good thing.
So, stepping back, what does this mean for AI's overall path? Is this just a temporary breather, or is it something more fundamental, like a maturing of the field?
I think the consensus is building that it's a necessary correction. It signals that the field is maturing, moving beyond the initial hype cycle. The focus isn't just on making models bigger or faster anymore. It's shifting towards refining what we have, making AI more interpretable, more reliable, addressing fairness, and building a more solid foundation.
Okay, this is the part I think our listeners will lean into. How does this necessary correction, this deliberate pace, actually turn into a benefit for businesses? How does it create a strategic advantage for you?
Right. The upside. It's actually pretty significant. First, you get potentially better ROI on your AI investments. Instead of feeling this constant pressure to jump on the absolute latest, often unproven breakthrough, you can actually focus on optimizing the AI you already have. You can refine existing implementations, make incremental improvements, and really maximize the value from technologies that are available now. It's more practical.
So less chasing the bleeding edge, more focused application.
Exactly. Second, this pace allows for reduced risk and better ethical consideration. It gives everyone, developers, businesses, regulators, crucial time to develop sensible frameworks, address bias, ensure transparency, deal with data privacy properly. This helps you mitigate the risks of deploying something too quickly or something that isn't fully understood, which can be incredibly costly down the line. Third, and this is crucial, you get more robust and reliable systems. A slower development cycle means more time for rigorous testing, validation, stress testing. This leads to AI systems you can actually trust, especially for important jobs in, say, healthcare or finance.
Where mistakes are just not acceptable.
Absolutely. The competitive edge is shifting. It's not just about novelty anymore, it's increasingly about dependability. Then there's sustainable development. The huge energy cost of training these massive LLMs is a real concern. A more measured pace encourages finding more energy-efficient algorithms and training methods, which is better for the environment and, frankly, for your bottom line long term. And finally, it enables thoughtful integration. This is key. Organizations get the breathing room to figure out how to actually weave AI into their operations effectively without causing chaos. Time to adapt your infrastructure, your processes, train your people, foster that human-AI collaboration. You know that stat, 74% of companies struggle to scale AI value. This slower pace helps address that directly. It allows for strategy.
Those are really strong points. But I can imagine some executives listening might still feel a bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, okay, we slow down, but what if a competitor makes some radical leap and leaves us behind? How does this deliberate pace really change the competitive game right now?
It absolutely redefines the competitive landscape. The rules are changing. It's shifting from a pure race for raw performance, who's got the biggest model, the fastest processing, to a battle for optimized, specialized solutions. The winners will be those who tailor AI effectively to specific industry problems, integrate it seamlessly. It's about solving real business needs reliably.
So deep industry knowledge becomes even more valuable.
Precisely. Companies are now competing on factors like security, explainability, compliance. Raw performance isn't enough in the enterprise world. This actually favors companies that have strong data governance, understand their sector's regulations, and focus on building trustworthy systems. It's a different kind of race.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Where are we actually seeing this measured approach happening in specific industries? What does it look like on the ground for your business?
We see it clearly across several key sectors. Take financial services. They're inherently cautious, right? So they're using this time for really thorough testing and ensuring regulatory compliance for AI in areas like algorithmic trading, fraud detection, risk assessment. The focus is on incremental gains, making things more secure, and, crucially, integrating human oversight, keeping the expert in the loop.
Makes sense. The stakes are too high for errors.
Or look at healthcare. Safety and ethics are paramount. A slower pace is non-negotiable for rigorously evaluating AI diagnostic tools or treatment recommendations. You have to ensure patient safety and address potential biases before rolling things out widely. Getting it right is infinitely more important than getting it fast. In manufacturing and supply chain, they benefit from a more nuanced integration. Think predictive maintenance, optimizing logistics, targeted automation. Here, the focus is often on making AI compatible with existing factory floors or supply networks, maximizing ROI without huge disruptions. It's about practical efficiency gains. And even in legal and regulatory compliance, this slowdown is valuable. It provides the necessary time to build robust governance frameworks and ethical guidelines for AI used in legal research or contract analysis, tackling those tricky bias and privacy issues head-on. Building trust is key there.
It's really interesting how the focus shifts towards refinement and reliability. What about the people side of things? How does this impact our teams, the skills we need, how we collaborate?
That's a huge implication. The talent demand is shifting. Maybe less urgent demand for those super specialized PhD-level AI researchers pushing the absolute theoretical boundaries, and more demand for people who can actually implement, manage, integrate, and optimize the AI tools we have now within a business context.
So practical application skills become more valuable.
Exactly. Which means upskilling your existing workforce becomes incredibly important. You need people who understand both the tech and your business. And beyond that, we're seeing a need for more collaboration and ecosystem development, sharing best practices, working across industry lines, maybe leveraging open source initiatives more. It fosters a healthier, more sustainable AI ecosystem overall.
Okay, but it can't all be smooth sailing. Even with a more deliberate pace, surely there are still significant challenges and hurdles businesses need to watch out for.
Oh, absolutely. This doesn't magically solve everything. Technical limitations are still very real. As we said, current models still struggle with complex reasoning, planning, true understanding. That limits where you can confidently apply them, especially in complex enterprise scenarios. And data integrity, fighting bias in data sets, those remain persistent, difficult problems. Then there are the practical implementation complexities. Getting the right data, ensuring its quality, integrating AI with older legacy systems, These are major operational hurdles.
Yeah, the integration piece is often underestimated.
Definitely. Plus, the lack of standardized frameworks and the ongoing need for specialized skills can make implementation costly and slow, even with a measured pace. And let's not forget the regulatory and legal hurdles. The landscape is still evolving rapidly. You've got data privacy laws like GDPR, CCPA, questions around intellectual property for AI creations, figuring out liability when an AI makes a mistake. It's complex, varies by region, and it's very much a moving target for global companies.
So, given those ongoing challenges, but also the benefits of this deliberate pace, what's the realistic outlook? What should we be watching for in AI over the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
I think the near-term future looks like a period of significant incremental innovation. Expect a lot of focus on refining existing models, making them more efficient, more robust, easier to explain, more trustworthy. It's about optimizing the current generation of tech.
Less about brand new architectures, more about making current ones work better.
Largely, yes. And tied to that, a huge emphasis on data quality and model explainability. Regulations will demand it, and businesses need it to trust AI for critical decisions. Understanding the why behind an AI's output will become non-negotiable. We'll also likely see a rise of hybrid AI approaches, combining deep learning with older, rule-based systems, for example, or integrating AI more tightly with other tech like IoT sensors, blockchain for trust, edge computing for speed, creating more versatile, robust solutions. And underpinning all of this will be an increased focus on responsible AI development. More attention paid to fairness, transparency, accountability, privacy throughout the entire AI lifecycle. We'll see more development of ethical guidelines and industry standards. Finally, expect a big push towards sector-specific applications and refinements, tailoring AI models for very specific jobs, better diagnostic tools in healthcare, smarter fraud detection in finance, highly accurate digital twins in manufacturing. That's where a lot of the value will be unlocked, aligning with that projection of the generative AI market hitting over $60 billion by 2033. It's about targeted, effective solutions.
So wrapping this up, the core message seems clear. This perceived slowdown isn't really a limitation. It's actually a vital opportunity for you as business leaders to adopt a more measured, responsible, and ultimately a more strategically sound approach to AI.
Exactly. It fundamentally shifts the question. It's no longer if you should adopt AI, but how thoughtfully, how strategically you integrate it for your specific context. The real competitive edge isn't going to come from having the absolute flashiest, biggest AI model first. It's going to come from building the most reliable, the most ethical, the most well-integrated AI solutions that solve your unique business problems. This demands a long-term view, flexibility, and a real commitment to sustainable growth. It's about making AI a lasting foundation for value, not just chasing the next wave of hype.
Thank you for joining the podcast, and see you soon.